I work as a nurse and I received a call from a deceased patient. I've been working as a nurse in a busy hospital for over 7 years now. Night shifts are always the toughest for me. It's a time when the hospital feels eerily quiet and you never quite get used to the silence, even with the constant beeping of machines in the background. The patients are often in deep sleep, and the emergency calls are fewer. But that doesn't mean things can't take a strange turn. It was one of those nights that I will never forget. It all started one evening in late autumn, during one of my usual night shifts. The hospital was relatively quiet that night, and I was finishing up some paperwork in the nurses' station. Most of the patients in my care were stable, and I thought I could finally relax for a bit before my next round of checks. I was just about to take a sip of my coffee when the phone on the desk rang. At first, I wasn't worried. It was common for someone to call about a change in a patient's condition or for other inquiries. I picked up the receiver, half listening for the usual instructions or updates. But what I heard next chilled me to the bone. "Hi, this is Luke. You remember me, right?" I froze. Luke. I couldn't place the name immediately, but the voice sounded familiar. Weak and strained, like someone who hadn't spoken in a long time. But Luke, that name didn't ring a bell. I asked cautiously. "Luke, who?" "I'm sorry, I don't think I recognized the name." There was a long pause, and then the voice came through again, this time with a slightly panicked tone. "It's me, Luke. The one in room 308. You were there with me. When I passed." My heart skipped a beat. "Luke. Room 308? That's where I had been earlier in the evening, checking on a patient named Luke Green. He was in his late 30s, had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition, and had been in the ICU for days. I had spent a lot of time with him, trying to keep him comfortable, adjusting his medication, and making sure he was as stable as possible. But he had died just a few hours earlier. His death had been peaceful, and I had made the call to notify his family. So how could he be calling me now? I was stunned. "Luke, that's impossible," I stammered. You passed away. I was there when it happened. We couldn't save you." There was a silence on the other end of the line, a long silence that made my skin crawl. Then Luke's voice returned quieter, almost in a whisper. I know, but I'm not gone. I'm still here. You have to help me." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I could hear the desperation in his voice, but at the same time, I couldn't fathom what was happening. This was impossible. There was no way. I checked his vitals, his pulse, everything. The doctor had confirmed the time of death. He was gone. "Luke, this isn't you. You're not alive anymore," I managed to say, my voice shaking. "You have to let go." The line was silent for a moment before I heard his voice again. This time, it was strained and full of fear. "I'm scared. I can't leave this place. It's not right. You have to find out why I'm still here. You have to find the note." I stood there in shock, trying to process what was happening. I looked down at the phone in my hand, not knowing if I should hang up or try to calm him down. The voice on the other end wasn't just a delirious rambling, it felt real. It felt like Luke was still there, still trapped. "Find the note." "What note, Luke?" I asked, my voice trembling with confusion and dread. He didn't answer right away. Then the phone line went dead. I was left standing there, staring at the receiver in my hand, unsure of what to do next. My mind raced, trying to make sense of everything. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I tried to focus on my duties, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The call had been so real, so vivid, that I couldn't dismiss it as a figment of my imagination. At the end of my shift, I couldn't let it go. I told myself I needed to find the note, to know what Luke had meant. I made my way to room 308, where Luke had spent his final hours. The room was quiet now, and the bed was neatly made, as if nothing had happened. But I knew something had been left behind, something that didn't belong. I carefully searched the room. The bedside table was empty, the sheets tucked tight, and everything looked normal. But as I looked under the bed, something caught my eye. A small piece of paper was tucked between the mattress and the wall. I pulled it out, my hands shaking. It was a folded piece of notebook paper with something scribbled in faint ink. I opened it slowly, almost afraid to read it. The note said, "I'm sorry. I didn't want to leave you." The words made no sense. I didn't understand. I couldn't comprehend why Luke would leave such a cryptic message. But at that moment, everything clicked into place. He wasn't just talking about his passing. There was something deeper, something unfinished. He hadn't been able to say goodbye. He hadn't been ready to go. And now, in some inexplicable way, his spirit was still lingering. I didn't know what to do with the note. I didn't know what to make of the call. But I kept it, locked in a drawer in my desk, unsure whether it was a message from beyond or my mind playing tricks on me. In the following days, I tried to forget about it. But strange things started happening. Patients in the ward began reporting strange occurrences. Some said they felt a cold presence in their rooms at night. Others claimed to hear someone calling their names when no one was around. But the strangest thing? It always happened in room 308. After a few weeks, the hospital administration decided to redecorate the room, to erase the memories of Luke's passing. But when they went to remove the bed, they found another note tucked in the mattress, exactly like the one I had found. This time it read, "Help me find peace." I've never been able to explain it, and honestly, I don't want to. But after that night, I became obsessed with the idea that sometimes the people we think we've lost aren't really gone. They're just waiting for something, or someone, to help them find the closure they never got. To this day, I occasionally hear strange things during my night shifts. A voice, a whisper, a name I don't recognize. And sometimes, I swear, I hear Luke calling me again.